just thinking about the time that I went to the hospital because my heart was doing acrobatics and I was hooked up to the ECG, and there was a doctor and the nurse in the room. The doctor was hot. He had to put his hand on me to adjust a wire. My heart started racing really fast. It was really hot. And then the nurse made fun of me for it in front of them. So I was like, I'll just make a joke out of this. Because like, what else am I going to do? So I was like, haha, that's the most action I've had in weeks. And I tell you, he did not appreciate that joke whatsoever. He continued to take the reading in stony silence. So embarrassing.
I think sometimes my sense of humor doesn't translate properly at all. I was like checking out from the hotel and the bellboy was like, hey, do you mind if I can help you take your luggage to your car? And I said, really? You wouldn't mind? He said, yeah. I said, okay, cool. And he goes to like put him in the trunk. And I say, no, don't put him in the trunk. There's a dead body in there. Put him in the back seat. He just stared at me for a few seconds. And I was like, no, I was joking. There's no body. It was a joke. And he just didn't talk to me the rest of the time. I tried to tip him. He just kind of like stared at me and like walked away. I thought it was funny.
On average, how many times per year does the typical married couple have intercourse? This was a trivia question at my wedding shower, and the person that got closest to the answer would win a prize. My sweet old grandmother said 255 times per year. I wish I was joking. That explains Grandpa's bad hip. The answer was like 64 or something like that.
Y'all know I love it when I can get petty with a Karen. And when that Karen's a racist as well, even better. But disclaimer, this story is not mine. Sadly, because it made me laugh my ass off. And the person who told me the story has asked to remain anonymous, because they still work for Walmart. And for the sake of the story, we'll call him Paul. But let's get into it. One day while in the office, Paul got a knock on the door. It was an associate giving him a tip about one of their cashiers. And they thought that this cashier was skip scanning, or free bagging. Essentially giving away free items. Now for context, the cashier was black. And Paul goes on to tell me that the area around his Walmart was predominantly white. And they had maybe 4 black associates in the entire store. That information will be relevant later. Paul goes on to investigate the cashier, and he definitely finds something very odd. You see, the cashier was taking something that wasn't theirs. But she wasn't hooking up the customer. She was double and triple scanning items for this customer. And as he continued to investigate, it was multiple different customers. But this young lady was not keeping any of the financial gain. It was all going in Walmart's pocket. So he was highly confused. So he did his job and he called her into the office to ask her about the situations. And when she gets into the office, she explains to him that she is new to the area. And since working for Walmart, she'd experienced a number of racist things from the customers that she was checking out. She explained that some of those instances were very mild and minor in nature, and some were just straight up racial slurs. She didn't want to say anything to the customers and potentially lose her job, so she took the petty road and double charged them, triple charged them sometimes. I ain't mad at her. I subscribe to this level of petty. And Paul did too. Paula tells me that he laughed his ass off in that interview, but explained to her that she couldn't do that going forward, because it does cause a very big problem for the inventory management in the store. Essentially, when you scan something at Walmart, it tells the system it needs to order another one. And this can throw your on-hands off, and it actually affects shrink down the road. Paul goes on to tell her that he won't tolerate this in his store, and that the next time she sees one of those people who are giving her problems to call him over to the register. Paul goes on to tell me that he went on to ban and trespass over 17 people from that Walmart for racial slurs. And the best part is, the cashier never got in trouble, and the people never got their money back. The moral of the story is don't be a dick, because karma will bite you in the ass. I know, because I bring that chick everywhere I go.
Daughter sleeps with a toddler mattress on the ground, and then we put like that baby gate around it, and it's backed up into the corner of the wall. Like her own little area. She has all of her stuffed animals and blankies in there. Doctor's appointment last week. They're like, oh, where does she sleep? Does she sleep through the night? Whatever. She said, in my kennel. The doctor looked at me. It's like, it's not a kennel. It's a safe little gated area that she likes. I knew I should have never called it that. I called it at one time.
Oh, you would think I'd learn, wouldn't you, babies? Well, sweet babies, I never do. So I had my mama in the grocery store the other day, and there was a young lady checking us out. She's maybe, I don't know, early 20s. She's a very pretty young girl, and she flipped over her phone, glanced at it, literally for 2 seconds, and flipped it back over. She then went to continue to tell my mama that her son had a baseball game and she was keeping score. She was asked to work a double shift that day that she wasn't really planning on, and that she just wanted to keep up with it. My mama smiled and said, "Oh, those moments are so important, sweetie pie. You're not bothering me at all," because she was doing her job quite well. Very well, actually. Well, the lady behind my mama decided she was going to say something. And along with a couple other nasty words that we're not going to repeat here, just trust me, they were very rude. She finally ends her statement with saying, "That's what's wrong with girls these days. Always so vain, taking pictures." She had just heard why this woman was literally the 2 seconds it took her to look at her phone. So my mama whipped around, and being a working woman her entire life, I could feel my mama was going to say something, and I almost felt bad for this woman. Almost. My mama said, "Ma'am, are you sober?" And this woman, taken aback by what my mama said, says, well, of course I am." My mama said, "Well, most time people are loud, stupid, and obnoxious. We just blame it on the drugs, but I guess that's just your personality, darling." Oh, somebody come get her. I like to die. That poor girl behind the counter, she was choking back her laughing so hard I thought it was going to come out her nose, that sweet baby. Oh.
Call me baby, maybe, is that okay? Yeah, it's cool.
I had this happen to me, but much worse. I was having a blood test, and you know how they tell you to squeeze your hand so the veins start popping? But her boob was in my hand, and I accidentally went without thinking. I was just listening to instructions.
So this is my embarrassing story number 2. One day I was working at the AIT, and a female comes through, and I asked her, "Do you have anything in your pockets?" She says no. It's okay. Well, go ahead and put your hands up and don't move. Now this machine basically makes sure that you don't have anything prohibited on you, in your pockets or in any part of your body. Now when I hit the button, there's an anomaly that comes up in her, kind of like her groin area, but more like maybe on the side. So I said, "You sure you don't have anything in your pocket?" She says no. So I hit the scan button again. I said, I asked her, I said, "Is it okay if I hit the scan button again?" She says, "No, it's okay, go ahead." So I hit the scan button again, same anomaly in the same place. I said, "Well, all right, I'm going to have to pat you down. Are you okay with that?" She says, "Yeah, you can go ahead and pat me down." So I gave her the spiel about how I had to pat down her legs only, how I had to do her groin as well. I had to go up her legs to meet resistance on both sides, and using the back of my hands for her sensitive area. So in this case would be her groin area. She says, go ahead and start patting me down. So I started patting her down. I go up one leg to meet resistance. I go to the other leg so I start meeting resistance. And as I'm going up that second leg, I realized that something just didn't feel right on the side of my hand. So I was like, okay. So then I used the back of my hand for her groin area. And as I'm going down, I just instantly stopped. And I looked at her, and she looked at me. And I was like, and she looked, and she said, "Yeah, I guess I should have told you." I said, "You should have told me what?" She says, "I'm still transitioning." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Oh, okay. Cool. All right." So I just finished patting her down, and I just tested my hands, and after I tested my hands, it wound up clearing, and I let her go. And as she was leaving out, she was just apologizing to me. She's like, "I'm really sorry I didn't tell you." She's like, I'm really sorry. She said, "It doesn't always show up when I fly." I said, "It's okay. I understand. It's your discretion on what you want to say." I said, "If it does show up, then, and you have to get tested or whatever, if you have to get patted down," I said, "then I guess you have to let them know. But if not, then you just going about your business." She said, "I really appreciate you for understanding." I said, "It's cool beans." So she leaves the area. She goes into the airport, and then my supervisor comes over. He says, "Do you know her?" I said, "No, I don't know her." He was like, "She was good looking." I was like, "Yeah, she was real pretty." He says, "I was thinking about asking her for her phone number." I said, "You go right ahead and do that."